Hi, y'all. Thanks for clicking on this Fishbone Diagram tips and tricks how-to video. Again, I'm Jamie Shank, she, her, hers, QI consultant. And today I'm going to walk through how to complete the root cause analysis Fishbone Diagram tool. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your contact and we can provide additional support. Let me begin by sharing my screen. All right, folks. So just a quick recap. What is a fishbone diagram? It's also known as cause and effect. And essentially what you're going to do is begin to visually depict what are the barriers, what are the challenges, what are the gaps that contribute to a central problem that you and your quality improvement team are focused on. I'm not going to go through each of these bullet points, but again, it gives you some context for you to look at. I also included the steps for completing a fishbone, which is what we're going to walk through on this video today. But again, you have them here. Something really important to keep in mind when doing this root cause analysis activity is to do this with a group of diverse stakeholders. So hopefully on your quality improvement team, you have people from different positions who maybe interact with clients or patients in different ways. Maybe they are also your grant administrators or others. But having a diverse set of folks just helps you bring more to the conversation, which is really, really great for your root cause analysis. So let's say I'm meeting with my team, my quality improvement team, and you want to pick the one singular issue that you are trying to work on. So for example, here we have the central issue being there's either low or no attendance at the in-person support groups. So that's your focus question, and you can put that up on a whiteboard in an office space. You could put it into a slide deck like this. But I do recommend having some kind of visual. You don't have to be fancy. It can just be on some post-it paper or things of that nature. But you'd want to say to your team, all right, what are all the different things that we think might be contributing to this low or no attendance? And just take people's ideas. The first step is to just listen and take people's ideas. You don't have to say something's right or wrong, more important or less important than another. It's really just ideation, which is again why it's great to have a diverse group of stakeholders. So this is an example that I actually did with our SSHP colleagues back in March of 2024. And you'll start to see these kind of look like little sticky notes, right? So for each note, that's one singular piece. Sometimes when doing a fishbone diagram, someone might say, okay, well, the reason there's low or no attendance is the time of day it's offered, transportation is an issue, and people are shy, right? Well, those are three separate things. So again, if you have staff maybe writing on a post-it note and putting it up on a wall, if you're taking notes during a virtual meeting, it's really important that you keep each idea discrete because each idea is in fact its own contribution to the root causes of what's going on with your central issue, like low or no attendance. You also may see folks say things like stigma, right? Um, Sometimes when people say things like stigma or social determinants, you can really unpack that. So another tip and trick is not just to keep each idea its own one singular thing, but if folks share things like, well, social determinants, what does that mean, right? Transportation is an issue. Income might be an issue, whether that's earned income, which is its own thing, or income from all sources, such as benefits, right? So don't be afraid to ask someone, tell me more, or hey, is this what you mean by that? Those are some good facilitator tips and tricks. And to be honest, folks, I've spent an entire, meeting just setting up the central question, explaining to folks what we hope to accomplish, which is to get these barriers, ideas listed out, and then move into the next step, which is to begin to cluster them. So once you feel like folks have contributed all their different ideas, that's when you would start to group like things together, right? So we start to see all of those different yellow post-its. Now we can kind of chunk them into similar groups. So some of the examples we saw included that folks don't know that these in-person support groups are free. They don't know that it's in person, or they just simply don't know about it in general. So again, this might have been something that someone said people aren't aware, right? But there's different levels of awareness. One, that it's free, two, that it's in person, and then again, just really generally. So we clustered these together. Over here, when we asked the team before what might be contributing to low attendance at support groups, folks said maybe they're not getting anything out of it. There's no drinks, there's no food, maybe the time it's offered isn't good. Maybe people feel like the support group is more like a gossip fest, or they just don't like the topics that are covered. So again, there seemed to be some sort of similarity. So the first thing you do is just begin to cluster like things together, and you'll see it's totally okay if some stuff stands on its own, right? So this one, the service standard doesn't support social connection. That didn't really fit with any of the other ideas, and that's okay. You don't have to force things to go together. So once you take all those ideas folks had and you begin to put them in like groups, then you would ask the team, okay, for this group of barriers that we've identified, what's a 1 to 2 word name for this group? So after clustering, when it came to these different levels of not knowing, the team decided to say, let's call that section awareness. When it came to what's provided there or the time or the topics, people decided to name that appropriateness. We also had things like access, the wants in the group, stigma, fear, and environment. Again, you can keep these just to short 1 to 2 word titles. Common group names, if the group's not sure or can't decide, are people, processes, environment. Those are very, very common. And this is borrowed from quality improvement skills learned from lots of different workforce areas, such as healthcare, but also manufacturing. So now that we have stated our central issue, the attendance, we took a whole bunch of ideas, we clustered them together, and then we named those clusters. Now it becomes a whole lot easier to put this into what we call the fishbone. So, oops, let me move my camera. So here we see our central question is what we would call the head of the fish, our central issue, our central problem. Again, we have the low or no attendance at these in-person support groups. And then we took our clusters and we put them sort of as bones of a fish. You see those ideas clustered together, and we named these bigger bones based on what those cluster names were. The value in doing this with your team is everybody's voice is heard. It doesn't matter if they started 2 months ago. It doesn't matter if they've been at the agency for 16 years. It doesn't matter if they have authority or power based on like their job title, like a supervisor, director, manager, or maybe they're more of an informal leader. It doesn't matter if they're an extroverted type person or they're more of an introverted sit and think with it, right? So this process helps neutralize personalities, tenure, position, and any of those potential power imbalances within your team. And also by having them participate and also by having them support naming these fish bones also breeds more engagement in the process. So again, the more you engage throughout your QI root cause analysis, the more ownership your quality improvement team is going to have on whatever test of change you pick. So now we have a fishbone diagram. And this is something where one of these discrete ideas, one of these individual bones or sticky notes, these now become something that the team says, all right, what do we have any influence over? What do we maybe have a locus of control, I like to say. Some of the ideas you won't. Some of the ideas might be lack of funding, right? You can maybe make a dent on that, but that is something that takes a lot of effort and a lot of time and maybe isn't guaranteed, right? So you've got all the contributing factors out there. Now you can begin to kind of distill that noise down into what are the things we could implement a test of change around and then figure out if it's working, right? So things like what time it's offered, that might be a lot more easy to shift and implement a new test of change idea compared to maybe some of the fear or stigmatizing aspects, right? Maybe the facilitator isn't good at it. Maybe this involves some staff training. Again, you can start to whittle down what are things that would take less effort but have a meaningful impact. And that's going to identify your discrete PDSA, Plan, Do, Study, Act, Test of Change, Quality Improvement Cycle. So again, if you want more information about what do we do once you reach this point, we're available to support, but I wanted to give you this video just to help you walk through those quick steps and how to meet with your QI team and create a fishbone diagram for your root cause analysis. Best of luck.